and Councilmember Ronnie. Excellent. I believe we're live streaming now. Thank you, Michael.
Got it.
Nope. Paula, that's usually me, but it's usually with cats, so it's a little more embarrassing.
Sorry about that.
No, that's okay. All right, we'll give it one more minute here and then we'll get started.
Paula, you can redeem yourself with a puppy picture.
Yes. Oh, puppies.
Puppy tax, puppy tax.
You don't want to see this beast.
I do.
Okay. I'll send pictures.
All right, why don't we go ahead and get started then? So today is Wednesday, June 22nd. It's 6:32 p.m. This is the meeting of the City of Hudson Common Council Technology Committee. There is no agenda tonight because we only have one item on said agenda, which is a presentation by the Springbrook team. So Dominic, I know just for you and for Michael to get you caught up, I know that you're both aware of the various technological improvements that we're looking to do within the city, namely with what we've looked at doing potentially with an app like a GoGov, and we'll touch on that a little bit later in this presentation, but also of the extreme and dire situation that Heather's office is in with regard to very antiquated technology for tax collection purposes. And that's what led us to talking to Paula Hubert and the team from Springbrook about what we can do to not only update the existing software that Heather's using, but we had a wonderful call with them last week, I believe it was last Friday, regarding the full-scale capabilities of what Springbrook can do from a payments and integration portion of being able to unify everything from utility payments to parking ticket systems and more behind the scenes. Breaking things down to be sort of united for if it were a resident into a single identity sign-on solution, whereby we would be able to do all of the reconciliations and everything on the back end so that anybody within the city government had a full view at any given time of payment status and more. And so without further ado, I want to turn it over to Ken Hoffman, the Chief Product Officer from Springbrook, who is going to introduce the team and give us a walkthrough of sort of what the full scale, depth and breadth of what Springbrook can do is. So Ken, please.
Thanks, Ryan. I appreciate that. I'll actually let Paula go ahead and kick things off from our side.
Thanks, Ken. Hi, Brian and Heather. I just want to introduce myself. I've been the account manager for Hudson for the past 2 years. And I'm just going to quickly introduce my team and describe their roles. So Ken Hoffman is our Chief Product Officer. He's going to kick this off with a short PowerPoint on the Springbrook Cirrus Cloud. And Deb McLeod, our product management, who works for Ken, didn't make it this afternoon. John Perot, Chief Revenue Officer, did not make it. He had surgery today, so he's recuperating. We do have Ron McDonald, Director of Sales for the Northeast. Hi, Ron.
Yeah.
And we also have Melissa Wagner with us. She is our solutions engineer. She's going to be actually doing the demonstration this afternoon. So we'll kick things off with Ken, and then we'll transition over to Melissa. And Ron or I may interrupt or interject periodically.
Fantastic.
So Ken?
Great, thanks for that, Paula.
Mhm.
Let me advance the slide here. So what I'm going to do today is just take us through a brief overview of Springbrook software, the solutions that make up our kind of suite of offerings. And then I'm going to call out just a handful of areas that are kind of new and exciting where we've been making some big strides recently. Before I kind of dive into the heart of this deck, though, just a little bit of background about me. As Paula mentioned, I'm Chief Product Officer for Springbrook. I've been with the company for just about 20 years, so a very long time. A lot of individuals who are at Springbrook have been at the company for a long time, so we have a kind of long tenure and long track record. But the piece I wanted to call out is that this time in Springbrook's history, these past couple of years in particular, represent the highest level of investment that we have ever made in the company from an R&D perspective, from a product investment perspective. And so as we grow, we're growing, organically, we're growing by acquiring other companies. We are just continuing to build the quality and robustness of our solution for our customers. And I think it really shows, and we'll certainly see some of that today. So a little bit about Springbrook and our company. We are currently in 35 states. We have over 2,000 customers and over 400 employees worldwide. So we are a very substantial player in the space of local government software, and that is who we serve. So there's a lot of companies out there that maybe serve private industry in addition to local governments. That's really not our business. Our customers are cities, towns, counties, and special districts. That really makes up the core of our customer base, and we don't see ourselves moving outside of that at all. Our solutions are known for being intuitive. Springbrook was one of the very first vendors to come to offer a true multi-tenant cloud solution. And so in addition to being intuitive, we are leaders in technology, and kind of some of our latest initiatives really double down on that strategy, and I think really speak to it well. Customer support has always been a really foundational part of who we are as a company, and so that of course means we're here for our customers when they have problems and challenges, and we have real people on the phone who know our software, many of which have backgrounds in local government themselves. But it also means that we're really trying to listen, and so there are forums such as this where we have an opportunity to interact and engage with customers. Our intention isn't just to come in and give a presentation. That's of course part of it, but the other part is to learn about the needs and the challenges of local governments, which are changing just as fast as the technology landscape changes. So we've heard over and over again, time and time, from our customers that they're increasingly operating with challenges to budget, challenges to staffing, turnover in the last few years we've seen as tremendous challenges that come up for our customers. And so all of these things drive us towards certain kinds of solutions. They drive us towards making software that's easier to use, that doesn't necessarily rely on the talents and expertise of people who maybe have been with an organization for 10 or 15 or 20 years, because that's just not always possible in today's kind of rapidly changing government landscape. In terms of our solution itself, Springbrook is really made up of a series of what we call suites of software. They're core suites. Everything we do is fully integrated software, but we kind of logically group these things together. And so kind of at the core, at the heart of Springbrook is our financial offering, which includes products such as general ledger, accounts receivable, accounts payable, purchasing, requisitions, cash receipting, point of sale. We have a very robust payroll and human resources offering as well that includes really great functionality for employee self-service. So that's things like, an employee may need to update their information. They may need to request a pay stub, change their W-4. These are all common scenarios that frequently, today for a lot of organizations might mean, emailing a payroll or HR team, or calling in, or, going into the office to request those informations. Employee self-service is really about reducing that burden and that load on a payroll and HR staff, and allowing employees to just get to that information themselves. Utility billing has long been one of our core product offerings at Springbrook. It's an area where, starting out kind of in the water billing space and expanding to support, sewer, gas, electric, refuse billing. This remains kind of a key and core area of development and focus for us, as many Springbrook customers do own, one or more utility businesses. Tax collection has also been a big area of focus for us, I would say, for about the last 7 or 8 years or so, since we acquired several software companies in the northeastern part of the country, KVS and SoftWrite, among those. And since adding those products into the Springbrook offering, we've really continued to build out and expand our tax collection service. And kind of lastly, on the solution side of things, we offer a robust suite of community development applications. This is what we think of for things like building permits, licensing. We have a specialized business tax module as well, and even some products such as assessments for managing improvement products and projects and that sort of thing. What underlies kind of each of these solutions is a payment capability. So the Springbrook payment offering, known as CivicPay, started out as online payments for utility billing, and has really expanded well beyond that to support payments across all the Springbrook products, and not just online, but now supporting payments over the phone, payments in person through our over-the-counter point of sale system, and recurring, or what we call automated payments, where a citizen can basically sign up and have the payment automatically made for them. So the payments area is probably one of our biggest areas of product development, and probably one of our biggest areas of growth, because what we've seen and what I think our customers have seen is that by having a fully integrated payment solution, we can solve a lot of the kind of common problems and challenges associated with payment acceptance. And so some of those things are as simple as making sure that when a resident or a citizen logs in, they're seeing an accurate and current balance. And when that payment is made, it flows through to the financial system in such a way that's ultimately matching up with a deposit to the bank account. That may seem like a fairly, kind of straightforward, kind of obvious or common scenario. And I can tell you that the number of government agencies across the country that struggle with accepting that broad range of payments, it is a real struggle. It's a real challenge. Sometimes, even small government agencies are dealing with handling multiple independent payment providers. The deposits that are being made aren't necessarily synced up to their financial system, and it can create a real reconciliation challenge. And so that is one of the key problems that we set out to solve with our CivicPay solution. And
I
again,
would just like to emphasize that is in fact a very accurate description.
Oh, correct. No, thank you. I appreciate that. And like I said, you're not alone in that sentiment. In the most extreme case that I've ever seen of this was one of our large county customers, who at one point in time had over 17 different payment processors in play for various departments in the county. Now, we were not able to get that down to one in that particular case. There was a lot of complexity there, but it can get out of hand pretty quickly and become very difficult to manage. Kind of at the next level, we have a product called Advanced Capital Budgeting and Planning. This is the newest and greatest offering in the Springbrook product suite. And the reason I wanted to kind of take a minute to specifically call it out is because this is an area where Springbrook has grown through acquisition. And so this was another company that was providing a specialized product in the budgeting space. We've acquired that and integrated it into the Springbrook offering, and that's one additional way that we're able to kind of grow our capabilities and offer our customers more solutions. So even though that product started out its life, as a separate and independent product, it's accessed by our customers through a single sign-on experience using the same login and the same password that all the other products are accessed through. And in fact, in the last 6 months, that's an area where we've really expanded our capabilities as well. And so we now can extend that login and sign-on capability to use your organization's email and password credentials so that you can have a true single sign-on experience across, logging into your computer and logging into any of the Springbrook products or modules that you use. So a very powerful capability, and really kind of represents the best in class for where security is going today. Finally, what underpins all of this is the Springbrook Analytics offering. This is something that in the last 2 years we have really expanded dramatically, and we've partnered with a company called Tableau, who is one of the leading providers of visualization and data reporting, particularly in the government space for federal and state governments alike. Our analytics solution, unlike some of our competitors out there, is actually a bundled component with our cloud offering. So every customer that subscribes to the Springbrook Cloud receives our Tableau analytics capability. There's no additional subscription associated with that, and no additional charge associated with that. This is actually a screenshot kind of showing one of those visualizations. This is an area where Springbrook has really invested to provide what we call, out of the box or templatized reports and visualizations. The analytics solution is very powerful, it's very capable, but we recognize that there is kind of a learning curve associated with using it. And so our strategy here is to pre-configure and preload a lot of different reports and visualizations so that your agency can just take those and use them out of the box, or if you'd like, tweak and modify those kind of to your heart's content. These can be accessed through a web-based portal. They can be accessed through a mobile device, through an iOS or an Android app for those individuals that are on the go. We have the ability to set up scheduled and delivered reports. So rather than remembering every Friday that I want to go in and see revenue versus expense, I can tell the system I want to receive an email and have that content automatically sent to me. We also have the ability, using this tool, to set up alerts on data. So, notify me when a metric changes, notify me when a data point changes. This capability for analytics started out in the Springbrook offering as an independent kind of standalone portal, a separate portal that customers would log into. And where we've taken it in the past couple of years is it's now, again, part of our centralized single sign-on experience. So the same credentials are used to log into this if they are any other product. And in the last month, I'm very pleased to announce that we now offer the ability to deliver and deploy any of these reports and visualizations directly through our main ERP application. And so that provides for just a phenomenal way to be able to access information and to make it really easy to get the right content to the right users who need it without, having to worry about training them on use of a separate tool. I mentioned just a moment ago, kind of one of the latest products that we added, Advanced Capital Budgeting and Planning. I did want to just take a moment to touch on that and show that, as one of those growth areas, growth through acquisition, what this has done is it's really provided Springbrook with what we call in the industry a best of breed or, best in class experience for budgeting and planning. So this is great for distributed budgeting scenarios, situations where individual departments are responsible for developing and managing their own budgets, for tracking things like changes to budgets or budget scenarios, and comments or modifications to budgets, and even includes capabilities for budget book creation and forecasting. So there's a lot of new capability that's available here. We recognize, this product, it offers a lot, may not be right for every agency. And so the Springbrook base financial application still contains and will continue to contain all of its budgeting features, including an extended budgeting module, which provides for quite a bit of robustness that can be a good fit for many of our customers. Another thing I wanted to speak to just briefly is some of the areas where Springbrook has been really working to modernize and level up our experience. And so one of those areas is in our workflow, electronic workflow and approval system. We've supported electronic workflows and approvals for many, many years, but recently have invested in improving the user experience of these. And so kind of on the left-hand side of the screen, what I'm showing are several different workflows in the application and what a user would see for a kind of a multi-step workflow. And on the right-hand side of the screen, you can see kind of a similar experience that a user gets when they access that same data on a mobile device. So this is one of those areas where we've really tried to put a focus on not just providing an experience that works well and works great in a browser, but providing an experience that works well for users who are on the go and who may need to make decisions from a mobile device. I really, liken this to Springbrook bringing to government agencies a lot of the same power and capabilities that are, frequently thought of in systems used for businesses or other commercial enterprises. And that is really one of the things that we're trying to do is to provide the best possible experience we can for these use cases where we know that it matters. And finally, the last point that I'll make here before I kind of open it up for questions or turn it over to Melissa to dive in more detail is, why choose the Springbrook Cloud? Like, what are these overarching reasons? I mean, we talked about a lot of content. I always like to focus on safety and security and the fact that it's always up to date. So by safe and secure, the Springbrook Cloud is a multi-tenant cloud solution that is built on Microsoft Azure. We encrypt the data through and through. That means the data is encrypted, of course, while it's moving across the internet, but it's also encrypted while it's at rest in our data centers. We support full multi-factor authentication, including the use of your organization login and password, and always up to date. This is a point that I think is particularly important to stress because there's a lot of solutions out there in the market that kind of have branded themselves cloud solutions, but really what they've done is they've sort of taken an on-premise solution and they're essentially hosting it in the cloud. And in those cases, it might be more difficult or more challenging for those vendors to truly keep those systems all fully up to date. And that's simply not the case with the Springbrook Cloud because we're leveraging that Microsoft Azure multi-tenant infrastructure that enables us to make sure that not only is our software up to date, the Springbrook software, but everything that backs it up is up to date. So our strategy is to apply Springbrook updates on a weekly basis. That means defect corrections are coming weekly and new features are coming weekly as well. We deploy those regularly in small chunks, and anytime we make a change that we think may have an impact to a user experience or may change a workflow, we structure those changes as things that need to be enabled or need to be turned on, so that a user doesn't come in on a random Tuesday and find that the way that they do payroll has changed or has been modified. We strive really hard to make sure that when we roll out these updates, they're rolled out as seamlessly as possible, and when necessary, something that needs to be turned on rather than something that is on by default.
That's good. Yeah, no, the only comment that I'll add is I think what appeals the most to me, and I talked to you all about this at length on our main call, is that single identity sign-on isn't just for the employees that use it. It can truly be employed from the external point of view for me, the resident, to be able to log in, to understand, and tying together the various systems, outstanding parking tickets, outstanding utility bills, outstanding property taxes, outstanding school taxes, if need be. And I think that, very much in the way that financial institutions are moving to try to unify that holistic look, I think we can kind of mirror that in terms of the payment experience, as you will, that the municipality has. So I think it's great. And to what you were just saying at the end there, I started giggling. I hope it wasn't throwing anybody off, but it's great to know it won't be like our phone systems where unfortunately folks come into City Hall. Linda's laughing at this. Folks will come into City Hall on a Tuesday and it's like, do we have phones today? It'd be nice to know that Friday at 5 p.m., Heather can turn the update on, and we just have hey, the systems are down this weekend. They'll be back up on Monday, and that notice can be on the City of Hudson website. So any questions from any of the other council members that are here as well, not just the committee? All right, do we want to jump right into the demo?
Awesome. Sure. Let me go ahead and share my screen. Let me know when you can see me.
Thanks, Melissa. Yep, you're up.
Awesome. So really, one of the biggest things that I want to piggyback off of Ken is really Springbrook offers a comprehensive suite of fully integrated tools that manage the cash flow, budgets, utilities, payroll, taxes, assets, pretty much anything that would kind of enhance or go through keeping your agencies running efficiently. Additionally, with our cloud application, we've included that Tableau, which is the industry leading reporting and analytics tool. And what you're seeing here is really the dashboard that any one of you guys as administrators would really log into. One thing that I really like to highlight is the fact that Springbrook's primary goal is to provide that state-of-the-art solution with easy navigation and secure processing that you can trust to take you into the future, but as well provide you with tools and a community to build the industry knowledge and improve your processes. So things that you're looking at here are really configurable to the user that's logging in. One thing that we've highlighted over and over again with Springbrook is the fact that you can have as many administrators in the system as you need to, being that it is a browser-based system. Ultimately, we know that each and every one of you guys as administrators are going to have your own roles or your own things that you need to do on a daily basis. So while you see right here on my personal dashboard, I have some UB tasks, I have my tax tasks, I have some other daily tasks that I'm taking on. I even have a header for some reports that I'm running on a normal basis. All of these different headers can be fully edited by simply clicking in this little word edit here, and you can pick and choose what you want to actually be included in your daily tasks or your headers and the different shortcuts that go within our page. Ultimately, it's a very easy process to pick and choose these different items that are basically one-click options. So if you're getting a call on the phone from one of your customers that has a utility billing account, all you have to do is have the shortcut right on the main page. And when you click on that, it's going to bring you right to your search engine to easily navigate to one of your customers' account. And as you can see, through a variety of different search engines in our system, we give you such a robust area to basically be able to search on a variety of different information, whether it's their phone number, whether it's their customer number, if you know their name or their social or their driver's license number, or maybe you know the address, or maybe the owner of the property.
So Melissa, can this portion, and the only reason I'm interjecting right now too is that I think Heather, I've seen the older version of this screen on the tax software itself. So in terms of expediting that,
Yes.
does this plug into caller ID systems, right? Because if there was a way to be able to plug that, I'm seeing Ken shake his head. Everything that I'm thinking in my mind is how do we make it happen faster, as fast as possible. So this team of 2 that we currently have within the treasurer's office, where arguably a lot of these calls would go to, that account should be able to just come up automatically without having to do any of the manual search if possible.
I can address that one, Ryan. Unfortunately, the caller ID linkage this is one of the areas, and these are very, very rare. This is one of those areas where in the on-premise software world, this was something that was easier to provide, but because we're fully in the web browser now, linking up to those caller ID systems is more challenging. However, I'll say what many of our customers have found was that if they do already have a caller ID system integrated into their computer experience, usually they can copy the phone number, paste it into Springbrook, and search that way. Or if they get the last name, copy and paste that into Springbrook and search that way. So I think there are ways to help enable some efficiencies there, but the fully integrated experience kind of down at that device level there's just a technical limitation there inside the web browser that makes it a little more challenging for us to achieve that.
No problem.
And Ryan, just as an FYI, we don't currently capture phone numbers.
Okay. Maybe we should, if that had existed and we could, I'm just trying to think of how do I reduce what could be a 1-minute call to a 30-second call,
Yeah, for sure.
All of that.
And not to say we shouldn't necessarily start collecting them, but we just don't traditionally have a record of collecting phone numbers. So.
Okay.
So one
But
other thing.
Sorry, Melissa, but Heather too, that's also, if we were to go this method and ask the public to create their ID, right? Because they would have to create a user ID on the front half, which arguably would be matched up with the tax records through SQL databases that Cheryl has and more to marry the identifications in the backside. We could require the phone number field for them to fill out if they've got a phone number on the front end. So just.
Oh yeah. We currently require them to provide an email address on the lodging tax software side of life. So we absolutely could.
Yep. Go ahead, Melissa. Sorry.
Yeah, not a problem. So ultimately, another thing I wanted to call out within all of our search engines, they really become kind of like an ad hoc reporting tool. Ken already spoke on the fact that we do have Tableau, which really puts you into kind of an infinite amount of different reporting that can come with all sorts of different visual aspects. Me personally, and many of our customers also like the ability to quickly extract an Excel or a true Excel or CSV export. All of these different search engines basically offer that capability by offering the ability to pick and choose particular columns that you would like included. You have the drag and drop options to be able to move the headers around to display exactly as you're looking for. And then also the ability to truly export an Excel or CSV export right from that area. So this becomes not only a search tool to get into whatever data element, in this case, the utility billing account search, but also the ability to export any of the information that you're searching for in this area as well. When it comes to the actual customer accounts, whether it's the tax account or the utility billing account, something that you'll notice pop up immediately are any alerts that are associated with that account. So in this case, if you do have that customer that's calling you on the phone trying to make a payment, and you know what, they wanted to go ahead and say, hey, I need to go ahead and write a check to send to you guys. If you have an alert that says, you know what, we don't accept checks from this guy anymore because we continue to get NSFs. that is an alert that you can have placed right here so that it pops up immediately and not just, hey, I wanted to say hello to you guys today, but ultimately that alert to let you know any pertinent information on that customer's account. Furthermore, once you actually get into the account, there's definitely a lot of information that we host right here on the overview tab. Each and every one of our accounts basically are made up of a variety of different tabs that highlight or zone in on specific information. However, this overview tab is really going to kind of bring all of that information right here at the forefront so that you can see what utilities and what the real-time balances are on those accounts. You'll see hyperlinks that basically link out to different portions of these tabs that help to go ahead and update customer names or addresses, or whether or not you offer payment plans. Maybe you have their account on hold for some reason or another. You also have a quick visual element here in case maybe you have somebody who's calling and saying, hey, my water bill is extremely high this month. Can you tell me what's going on? You actually have a quick visual here where you can say, okay, what's the consumption?
I
And have
wish
comparison.
we did smart metering, but we don't. But it's usually it's a flat quarterly water fee. On this, really quick, on your billing side, 2 questions from the, not on just the account level, say at the most macro level, Heather sitting across all of the finances for the city. If this were broken out to be the net balance of each department, so water and sewer versus, I don't know, parking versus, whatever else are our payments in flux, would she be able to have access to a daily dashboard where she'll see exactly, what those numbers are? And we can set, if I remember from our last call, triggers in duality. The first would be an alert where we might be over a certain threshold that we deem as comfortable, right? So say water and sewer payments happen to cross the 50% delinquency threshold. I'm just using that as an example. That would be triggered off. But on the flip side, we can also trigger email reminders to go out to the residents where we're saying, hey, your bill was due 2 weeks ago, or a reminder that this bill is coming due in 2 weeks, so that we can try to sort of stave off the collections period down into a little bit slimmer of a timeline. Is that correct?
Yeah, Ryan, I'll speak to that on the dashboarding side of things. So we've got tremendous flexibility in terms of enabling, in particular, aggregate or summary information that a user wants to see. So doing things like showing an aging across all of the different departments or all the different financials, that's definitely not a problem using our dashboarding tool. With respect to things like automatic reminders, what we certainly have in Tableau today is the ability for you to set a reminder, or we call it an alert, on a metric. So if a value reaches a threshold or goes above a threshold, it could even be at the PO level, for example. A purchase order reaches a certain threshold, we can alert the user for that. For situations like interactions with the citizens, right? The general approach that we have for that is an opt-in model on the citizen side. So for example, our online utility payment portal will send out a notification before an automated payment is made. It'll inform the citizen, hey, you signed up for an automated payment, just to let you know it's about to happen, and it's going to happen on this date. And then we give the user the option to sort of, they could put that on pause if they want, or maybe they put it on their Visa card and they realize their Visa card's maybe sort of at its limit. They could move it over to a MasterCard to give them an opportunity to, let them make that change. And we do support some pretty robust citizen engagement features through our IVR functionality. So when an account is past due, we can actually help to enable you to initiate an automated phone call even to that account to say, hey, did you know your Hudson water bill is past due? Press 1 to initiate payment and pay over the phone. So a lot, I think, of solid capabilities there in terms of the communication and outreach side of things.
Okay, I'm going through my checklist of questions. this
I
is
also
good.
just wanted to comment on the water and sewer billing, because currently we actually have both models. For the majority of residences, we have a flat quarterly fee. And for most of the businesses, there is a metered model. It's not a smart meter. I think people are literally going out and reading and reporting in little books and bringing little books back to the water and sewer department. And that's how they're determining their billing. One thing that I'm very interested in doing though is, out of our $2,300 water and sewer accounts, maybe 200 to 400 are
Businesses.
metered,
Yep.
and the rest are not. And currently, the way that our water and sewer department works, that does not come out of my department. They have their own separate billing thing, but they issue bills every quarter to everyone. And what we do on the property tax side, obviously, is we issue one bill a year, and it has the 4 payments with the payment due dates. And I would love to see us move to that model for the residential ones, because you're saving time, effort, postage, paper, and you're also giving people the ability, if they so choose, to pay their entire year of water sewer at any point in time they want, which we've had many requests for. So I realize that the metered stuff has to be, sort of retroactively calculated and billed, but that is a small percentage of what the city currently does. So that is one of my goals as well.
Heather, I like that as well, because not only does that start us on a path of implementing both, and obviously this won't happen probably in the next 10 years, but just thinking sustainably in the future. I mean, if the city ever were to go to metered water billing for residents, it's nice to have this system in place already.
Absolutely. So just a couple other things I wanted to point out right from the screen before I get over to kind of the customer portal, and you could see the customer experience from that standpoint, is the fact that this also does go ahead and pull in some real-time activities that are happening, whether they're uncommitted transactions, meaning our system is very batch-based in the sense that all of the different processes that you're completing, whether it's creating a new bill for tax, creating billing for utility billing, whether it's taking in your receipts with any of those payments, ultimately it's going to walk through kind of a step-by-step process that really follows suit. So if you have a lack of employees, or you are stepping in for another because of one reason or another, you have the ability to kind of follow through with the same batch process, which is going to include some sort of filtering or choosing particular options to kickstart that batch, the option to import or edit additional details around that batch. And then there's a variety of different reports that will look at every which angle of how that data will affect the rest of the system and all the corresponding modules. So that gives you guys the ability to step in for one another and basically jump into any of the different processes throughout the system, and also gives you the ability to have real-time comfort for the customer knowing that they've maybe made a transaction or a payment, but at the same time gives you guys the internal processes to go through some extra verification before committing the transaction to flow through to your GL and any other financial information. So really getting that information all right there at the forefront, seeing all the activity that's happening. And then if you guys are tracking and taking care of service requests also, that helps to be tied out right here. So that's right there at your fingertips, and you're seeing what's going on with those customers as well. Any questions around kind of the overview or the many different details, or was there anything in particular you guys were looking to absolutely see on a customer record?
No, you've answered most of my questions. If you can talk really quickly too about, and this goes into some of the integrations that we had discussed too. What's the API SDK process? And because a lot of this is like Heather facing internal. Talk about a little bit of the integrations and sort of being able to unite the varied systems that are out there, and plugging that into sort of a holistic interface that the public could use.
Yeah, I can speak to that, Ryan. So Springbrook has a number of different integration options available. Kind of, I would say there's a spectrum. The way I think of it is sort of ranging from file-based imports and exports all the way up to fully integrated kind of real-time API integrations. Generally speaking, I think what we find is that for most use cases, for most government agencies, when we're pulling information into the financial system, things like file-based imports tend to be the path of least resistance and the way to go, or certainly as kind of a first step if those APIs don't already exist. But Springbrook has fairly robust support for both of these things. One of the areas that we've been investing in recently for our cloud solution is the ability to do an automated or a scheduled import. So we kind of get the best of both worlds, right? We keep the simplicity of a file-based import, but we allow that to run every night. And so common use cases for that include things like importing cash receipts from a third-party system, from a park and rec system or a parking ticket system, rather than having a user go and choose the file and import it in, just have that show up kind of in real time each morning as a successful import, or notify the user, hey, there was a challenge or a problem here. That capability of kind of doing those scheduled or those automated imports, that's long been a capability that our on-premise software has had, and a lot of on-premise software systems have had. It's something that for our cloud solution, we're literally just in the process of building, and so that's certainly something that's coming live well before the city of Hudson would be looking to move forward onto our solution. But I think it's something that'll be really, really relevant. Now, for those more advanced cases, we do support purpose-built read and write APIs, and these are things that would be utilized by a developer or a systems implementer to really build a more robust real-time integration. And we at Springbrook built those sort of purpose-built and specific functional areas. So we have APIs kind of built around key common use cases that we've seen at other government agencies. So just an example of one of those, we have an API that allows for synchronizing to a third-party address database. Usually that would come from a county GIS system. It might come from a city GIS system, or another sort of like central authority of truth for address management.
For that, we've got, because it's funny, I actually just did this last night for a different presentation. New York State has the address number on the GeoJSON file from its GIS site that we can pull in.
Yep. So that would be something that we could either import into Springbrook, or in that kind of more robust scenario that we were talking about, we have APIs around managing those we call them lots in Springbrook, but managing those physical properties in Springbrook. That's one example. We have other kind of purpose-built APIs for scenarios that we've encountered. Another one that comes to mind is for utility billing service requests. We support our own quite robust service request functionality, but sometimes we encounter agencies who have a third-party service request management system that's kind of already in place, and they want to tie into that work management system, and so we have APIs to enable that. Additionally, and I think I can say that we are the only vendor in our space to be offering this today. I think that's accurate. We offer a read-only API, an API that it doesn't allow for writing, but it allows for reading of every data element in the entire database. So anything that can be accessed through the user interface from kind of a reading perspective is accessible via a programmatic modern REST-based API for any technical folks on the call in the Springbrook system. That is new functionality for us in the last year, and that is functionality that today is bundled as part of our software suite as well. There's no additional charge for that. We call it the Springbrook Open API, and we think it's a unique competitive differentiator for us.
Awesome. Theo, anything you want to bolt on to that one?
Yeah, first I just want to apologize to everyone for being a little bit late. I missed the first 10 minutes or so of the presentation, and I'll be sure to go back and watch it. Thank you so much for this really detailed presentation. It's really cool to see, and I do apologize if this was already answered earlier, but I'm just trying to like sort of zoom out and get a more general workflow here. You know, as I'm a citizen in Hudson, I have an app on my phone that I allow. You know, I can submit 311 requests. I understand that there's currently no app to the system, but I'm wondering, you know, is there any way to sort of unite something like SeeClickFix and or GoGov with this in a way that maybe down the line we can only direct citizens to one app instead of having to go to one app for messaging from our candidates and from the city, and then also to do payments at another site, or are these separate entities altogether?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'll take that. So we do have customers today that are using SeeClickFix, and actually GoGov we're quite familiar with. That's an entity that we've previously done engagements with, and we've even talked about partnering to provide sort of a more robust productized solution. But we do have the ability to import those types of transactions into the Springbrook, we call it code and contact management module. So that's kind of one path for unification that's available. Generally, that's great for things like managing requests that are coming from the community. Where that tends to fall a little short, though, is on that kind of fully integrated two-way communication. Like if we want to display a balance or display financial information to a user, generally what we're going to recommend is to drive that from the Springbrook citizen or community engagement portal with the screen that Melissa has up here. And this is an area that we have been working to extend and expand so that in addition to seeing bills and making payments, we can also initiate requests for service. It's not as robust as a GoGov or a SeeClickFix solution, but it does provide a way to meet that need for a lot of agencies. I think in terms of integration, we would certainly be more than willing to have conversations with GoGov and or SeeClickFix about how we can better and strengthen that integration to improve the offering.
Are there plans in the pipeline for a mobile app, or are you still seeing this as a cloud-based service through the desktop?
For all of our payments-based applications, what we have done and are intending to continue doing is to provide responsive web applications. So they would be run from a browser, but be responsive down to a mobile or a phone-sized device. This is an area we've actually done pretty extensive research, including focus groups. And what we found is that particularly for the bill pay scenarios, the mobile web applications are the preferred kind of mode of interacting with a local government agency as opposed to a dedicated installed app experience. So it's something we've looked at extensively across our customer base, and that's why we've invested in that responsive web-based experience.
Great, yeah, thank you. I'm just thinking that in terms of bringing it to council, just like translating what this process is, for a citizen and what it looks like. The understanding the back end is really helpful, and I appreciate you walking us through it. I'm always kind of just like understanding like where I'm coming from is always like, okay, well, what does this feel like to use? So thanks for sketching that out.
Absolutely. So just to piggyback off of that customer experience, like Ken said, what you're looking at right now is our Civic Pay platform or our customer portal. We have really done quite a robust research to make sure that, just like he said, we're meeting the needs of the customers. And one of the biggest feedback we continuously get is that I don't want to download another app. Instead, I want to make sure that I can pull up, pay my bills, and get through doing what I need to do without having to download another thing on my tablet or my computer or my phone or anything like that. So what you're seeing here is a fully configurable area where you can communicate whatever you're looking to kind of communicate in this area, where it says the welcome to Civic Pay, update me. I have a bunch of standard jargon just to kind of show you that we can have different colors, different size of font. We can have links and images and pictures and all sorts of different information. So if you have different things to communicate with your citizens, it's an easy spot where you guys can go ahead and update on the fly. Additionally, as you can see, you can include your logo as well as some contact information right from the main page.
Melissa,
Yes.
does this widget plug into existing web pages as well? Because one of the things that we're running complimentary on the side, we have a full website redesign going.
Mhm.
And so like my ideal is to have like a widget at the top, like, resident of the city, click here to access your whatever it would be. Like, I want to make sure that that is imprintable within that site.
It is.
Exactly.
And actually from the administrator side of Civic Pay, we actually provide you with that coding so that your technology officer, whomever is actually updating your website, they can actually plug that directly in. So it's a quick and easy process for them to include that button, the make a payment here, or click on here to see your citizen portal, or whatever verbiage you're looking for.
Great.
When it comes to the payments themselves, like Ken was kind of hitting on, we have the ability to go ahead and set up for one-time payments where you can include utility payments, municipal payments, tax payments, license and permits payments, basically any kind of money that you're looking to take in, which would basically walk them through the process of being able to see those different types of payments, possibly put in an invoice number or a customer information, and basically pull up that information. If they are, instead of wanting to make a one-time payment, they also have the ability to sign up for an account. And this can be a very simplistic process where they're simply putting in their email address and password, and then a little bit of information to verify that, yes, it is their utility bill or their tax payment or whatever they're trying to kind of log in to see, and complete the registration process. At that point, they will then be able to always log in from this area. If they ever forget their login, it's a very quick and easy process as well, where we did offer a forgot password, which will walk them through the steps to go ahead and confirm their identity and actually be able to log into the system as well. Once they actually log into the portal, it is a very, very simplistic area in the sense that we are providing a lot of data, but in a very organized method so that they can kind of see exactly what they want to see in real time, and to make payments, as well as pull up any historical transactions as well. You'll see on most of the main pages, we're going to have this is a custom message field displayed here. These are different areas where you guys would be able to additionally add added verbiage to go ahead and communicate with your citizens as well. So if you guys are going to be shut down for the 4th of July and you know that you need to communicate that out, it's a quick and easy spot where you can have that right there in their face to let them know. Additionally, if you're changing service rates or you change that quarterly water bill, you can go ahead and communicate that information right there at their fingertips. And again, there's multiple areas throughout the system where you can go ahead and customize those verbiages to hit on those exact points. From the main page, you're going to see there's a bunch of different hyperlinks that are going to basically take you to the same information that's right here along the side. And again, just like we were talking about before, this is entirely technology flexible. So whether they're on their tablet, whether they're on their cell phone, whether they're on their computer, ultimately this is going to shift and mold to whatever technology you're on. So one of the things that I actually provided you guys with, or Paula sent over, was a PowerPoint that kind of showed a lot of the screenshots and things that we're going over today. One of the things that I also included in there was some of the views from those different types of technology so that you can see how it shifts and molds to a tablet or a cell phone or anything of that sort, so that you can kind of get that visual as well. When it comes to making a payment, it's a very quick and easy process. As you can see, it's going to list out the payment details, what's outstanding, what's their total account balance, what kind of payment are they looking to make a payment on. You guys have the ability to control any service fees or convenience fees that you may want to include for whatever purposes, as well as what types of payments. And if you have any kind of thresholds in terms of a min or maximum amount based on those different types of payments. In this case, I'm going to make a very small payment, maybe a $5 payment, and I have a convenience fee of $1 that I have set up on the system. In this case, you can see the subtotal listed out there. And when I click payment method, it's going to go ahead and let me choose what payment method I want to go ahead and apply to this. Whether it's an existing payment method that I currently already have saved because I've been a customer for so long, I set up my account and I've put in my payment methods, I can certainly go ahead and do that. I can also set up for a new payment method where I can go ahead and define what type of method it is and complete that additional information. I also have the ability to save that payment method for future use, as well as even set up for auto pay payments. So in the future, instead of me even having to log into the system and make a payment myself, just like Ken was talking about before, you can go ahead and set up to either make the payment on the day it's due or even so many days before the day is due. So it works out for the customer to be able to kind of define all of those special characteristics.
This is probably the most important to me. And Heather, I don't know if you happen to know off the top of your head any of the delinquency rates, but I mean, like just, you know, HOA stuff up here. I mean, especially with older populations, right? It's, you get the paper bill, it gets lost in the pile of everything that's on your counter. And by the time you decide to clean and find it, it can be weeks after it was due. I'm so much of the option to set it and forget it, which would be great. And somebody mentioned before, there's the element to be able to go in and sort of like automatically suspend. And where my head unfortunately goes there is in the event of the death of, you know, somebody. I don't know if we as a municipality do that though. Say if I were to pass away, does that absolve me of the need to pay my water and utility bill, or does that just kind of become sort of the estate inheritance issue of whoever, you know, gets my estate after the fact, they also get the bill because in that time it took to figure out the estate, how that works. But, you know,
Ryan, I can answer that.
Please.
Property taxes, water and sewer payments, all live with the property.
Oh, live. That's the optimal word there. Got it.
No pun intended. Well, maybe slightly, but
kind of. I enjoyed the humor. Theo, go ahead.
Are you saying that death and taxes are after you die?
There you go. There you go.
Yeah, just a quick question. And maybe you're already going to get to this. But I was, what was I? Oh God, I just totally forgot my question. Come back to me, continue the presentation, and I will interrupt when I remember.
Yeah, whenever you remember, just go ahead and butt in right then, and that's good. So what I was basically getting to is if after you make your selection or you put in your account information, in order to complete the payment, as you can see, it's going to give you your payment summary. You're going to go ahead and say complete payment. And what's nice about the system is it's going to go ahead and think for a few seconds, and then it's going to go ahead and let you know if it's been processed successfully. You even have a printable confirmation sheet. Because of the fact that this is electronic, it's also going to email you over a copy of this so that you have it nice away tucked in your email so that you can get that. But I know me personally, I do everything from my phone. So I can take a screenshot right from my phone of this confirmation as well. So you do have that kind of flexibility of whatever technology you're on as well.
Can I interrupt here? Because this is actually a really good dovetail that reminded me of what I was going to say. I totally hear you on, no one wanting to download a new mobile app. I think for us, the advantage of just a mobile application would just mainly be to like communicate to people and like do push notifications. I was wondering if there's any sort of notification system associated with your software platform, a text message or a phone call or something like that, or maybe even notifications that plug in with the API of other software, such as like a GoGov or a C-Click Fix. What are the sort of notification options that might come from like a delinquent payment or a late payment or something like that?
Yep, I can address that, Theo. So just in the interest of transparency, this concept of notifications, this is an area that we as a a product team, as a company, intend to unify so that we can have a completely centralized, unified way to push notifications. Right now, the way that those outbound notifications work is on a per suite or a per module basis. So utility billing has its own mechanism for notifications, and tax has its own mechanism. So it's again, just in the interest of total transparency, it's not fully unified, but generally speaking, we are sending email notifications for things like bills or past dues, and then we have the option, generally speaking, to use IVR or automated phone calls for past due notices as well. But this is an area that's pretty high on our list to look for from a unified communications standpoint. And so I would expect over time that what we will see is more features and more development on this front.
Great, thank you.
Awesome. So to go a little bit further into the customer experience, what you're looking at here is the ability to go ahead and pull up any previous bills. As you can see, it does list out the service period, the billing date, the due date, all the current charges and everything forward. We also have the ability to do up to 5 different stuffers or bill attachments as well electronically in here. So if there are different things that you typically include in those bills or with those bills, you certainly can go ahead and have this. We do have printable versions of all of this. So if you do have those customers that, let's face it, they just want to print something out, they do have the ability to right here, as well as export it to PDF as well. In terms of usage, we do have a nice area here where we can basically pull up any of their consumption usage, and they have the ability to kind of go back as far as the data exists in the system, where they can pull up all the different years as well as months of that consumption, and then also get that little roller coaster down there so that they can see, hey, maybe they had a pool party in 2019 here, and that's why their bill was so high compared to other years that they consumed some water. But ultimately, they do have quite a bit of flexibility of seeing kind of those numbers as well as that visual element in terms of their usage. In terms of activity, this is actually something that's been very, very popular most recently, especially with how the economy is going and how difficult it is to kind of find a rental at times. We're hearing from so many different agencies that a lot of their customers are being forced to kind of spit out some proof that they're actually paying their utility bills and their previous rentals. This is a spot where they can actually export a report of not only their payments, but all of the different billings and adjustments that also have happened on their account. So at any given time, they can come back and see their activity history, export a report, and then if they needed to pull up a past bill, let's say maybe they're asked to run a report or run a bill from January of 2021. They could go ahead, click on this, and it's going to go ahead and bring them up that specific bill so that they come back in and they can actually print that information out. So a lot of different activity and kind of items at their fingertips so that they can see their usage, they can see when they've paid bills, as well as pull up any historical bills. A new item we've also rolled out is our service request area, which has become very, very popular because ultimately you guys have the ability to kind of pick and choose what elements you would like to communicate with your customers. This has not only been kind of utilized for the purpose of truly utility billing, but also maybe some of those customer service requests that you might want to kind of trigger off. When it comes to the different items that are seen in here, as you can see, you can go ahead and customize which ones you're going to turn on. And then you could even put things in here like, hey, maybe they're requesting a payment plan, or maybe they're moving out and they want to give you a heads up. They can go ahead and kickstart that process. What's nice after they've actually submitted this request is they have right here at their fingertips the ability to kind of see what's going on and where they are with that request. Simultaneously, it's going to send an email out to your team to let you know of that communication that has been triggered off in this customer service request area. So ultimately, it's a little bit of a Kickstarter when it comes to those service requests. The My Profile tab is a nice area where they can basically update or adjust any of the information on their accounts. So if they have particular payment methods or they have maybe even multiple accounts. Here, they can go ahead and sign up for auto pay. They can define whether or not they want a paper bill or maybe an electronic bill. What is their core default customer that they want to log into if they have multiple accounts in here as well. And then they can also wipe out past payment methodology versus current ones and set up for different auto pay functionality within those payments as well. And then the last area in here is our contact us area. This is something that's important for you guys because not only are you communicating your contact information, but also your district hours. So they know exactly when they should or should not be reaching out. And they have that method of communication also so that they can go ahead and reach out. All again, right there from their fingertips. Any questions or things that you did or did not see, things that you're possibly still thinking about?
No, you've hit all of mine. I'll look to Heather or Theo, Dominic, Vicky.
One question I have is, and I know, and I'm going to explain this for some of the other folks on the call. We can do this incrementally, i.e. we can take in different modules as they are appropriate for us. So one question I have is, do you have an ETA for a delinquent tax installment agreement component of the tax collection software?
An ETA meaning when we expect that to be available from product side of things?
Exactly. Yep.
So I don't have a date that I can provide, but I can say that right now we're targeting that for a Q1 of next year timeframe. So that's not slated to roll out inside of this calendar year, but early next calendar year is when we would expect to have that.
Okay, and then second question, I'm assuming that, and I might be wrong about this, that tax collection and utility billing are part of the same module, or are they not?
They're separate modules, but they're tightly integrated in the sense that in Springbrook, we have centralized entities for customer and for property or lot. And so those two product areas can basically work from the same person or the same business and the same property identifier. But in terms of modules, we think of them as separate modules.
Okay, and then what is the current integration between, we don't just even have enterprise, we have KVS standards for our utility and our tax collection right now. So you know that's super oldie time stuff.
Yes.
Is there integration between that and the new general ledger and budgeting?
It's a great question. There is no integration per se, and so generally speaking, from a implementation standpoint, if we're going to take a phased approach, and this is I'm not on the professional services team, I'm on the product team, but generally speaking, from a phased implementation approach, what we recommend doing is implementing first core financials, payroll if applicable, and then utility billing and tax. So that would be a common approach that we would recommend if we were going to take a phased approach. We've got a lot of flexibility there from a services perspective, and I think and would obviously work to engage with you to figure out what's best or what's right from your standpoint.
So if there's no integration between standard and the new cloud-based financial software, have you had any experience doing creating, exports that can be imported into the new software?
Yes, absolutely, and that's typically what we recommend for journal entries is an import-export approach. I can also say that of the KVS customer base, we've at this point, in terms of either partial or completed implementation. So this would be agencies who have for some period of time been using both solutions. I think we're up to about 60 or so agencies that have been through that process, kind of moving, transitioning from one software to the other, and that includes a mix of the KVS Enterprise and standard solutions. So it's an area where we have built a lot of experience.
Okay, so my two observations would be that we are clearly not able to move to the tax/utility side until installment agreements are in place because we have them in the system now.
I agree with that.
And
Yes.
so I'm interested in learning a little bit more about how effective the import-export component is in the short term. And lastly, we don't have to have this conversation now, but I'm actually very interested in understanding a little bit more about the payroll component. Currently, as I'm sure many people that you deal with do, we're using Paychex. And Paychex is very good at some things, but not very good at some other things, particularly very confusing municipal issues like 201c for police people who are out on disability and how that impacts their taxable, income and things like that. So I would be very interested in understanding where you guys sit on that. So that's a different conversation, but definitely interested in having it.
Absolutely. I am not a payroll expert, but I can say in terms of the depth of product capabilities, that is an area where we have very, very deep capabilities, and we're operating in a lot of states with a lot of complexity, including complex union agreements with police and fire, where kind of the sky's the limit in terms of complexity, and so we definitely have a lot of experience in that space.
Yeah, and that's obviously exactly where we're living right now. We have now 3 unions. Don't ask why. But yeah, the complexities of the union agreements and the way it impacts payroll. I mean, I think for police alone, we have something like almost close to 30 different types of deductions in different ways. And then, when they go out in disability, that's a whole other issue. We've had issues where their deductions are more than the zero income that they're making because they're out on disability. And how does that impact how does it impact the city's 941s? Among other things. So it's all very confusing.
Yep. And I don't want to overstate the capabilities here, but over, my time, the years I've been at Springbrook, there have been a handful of customers who have used our payroll system who, for one reason or another, decided to go to ADP as an alternative. As far as I know, all of those agencies ended up coming back to our payroll system.
Okay, well, we can obviously, I'd love to see, a demo and talk about it a little bit more, but it sounds like you guys have a better handle on the complexity of municipalities and unions than maybe the average payroll company. So that could be interesting as well. And the integration does not hurt. That's all for me.
Thanks. This is maybe a combination Heather and Springbrook question, but I'm wondering if there's a module that can be used to collect lodging tax for short-term rentals.
Yeah, absolutely, Theo. So for us, and it would depend on the specifics of what we're collecting. That would either be our licensing and permitting module or what we call our business tax module.
Okay, great. And then, in the case, if we had, because we're collecting these addresses of short-term rentals, like we would be able to send notices for, delinquent payments or something like that straight from the app, right?
Correct.
Or from the website. Okay, great. That also, that's great to hear.
Awesome. So, guys, I could definitely talk through and show you all sorts of different things in the system, which will continue to take up time. But I want to make sure that I'm hitting on all of the points that you guys are looking to see. So far, we've kind of walked through the fact that you have a very flexible administrative as well as customer side portals so that they can basically get through their day-to-day, as well as you guys have the ability to have shortcuts and very quick and easy access points within the system from basically just the dashboard look and feel right as you log into the system. We have all sorts of different security settings that can be set forth in order to meet your guys' needs. Was there anything in particular that you guys wanted to definitely see today? I know we can schedule additional time to dig into things like that payroll, as well as show you exactly what you want to see in terms of license and permits.
I mean, Heather, do you want to dig into that? I will say as Heather was saying, in terms of like the stepped approach that we're looking to take, for me in particular, and probably the members of the tech committee, I mean, the four main things that I think I wanted to get out of tonight we've hit on, which were obviously the upgrade that we know that Heather desperately needs within her office. But then on top of that, the ability that we've talked about in terms of like tying in some of the disparate systems outside. The payroll stuff, I mean, Heather, do you want us to go through that now, or do you want to save that for a different time? Because I know that the
absolutely
software-
do not want to go through that right now.
Ah,
I have
there
a
we
hard
go.
stop
Okay.
in about 1 minute.
Okay, there we go. So again, for me, I think we've gone through those three main areas too, right? And again, it's the utilities, which we know that we have. It is the tax elements that we know that we have, those softwares that we know that we have in place. And then Ken really answered the ability to tie in with some of those outside systems and API. And you were able to address the two app service providers in SeeClickFix and GoGov that we're looking at right now as well. So I'm set for the moment. Any other council members have any other questions?
I don't have any questions. I just want to thank you for the presentation.
Perfect. All right.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anything? I mean, Paula, Melissa, anything you want to leave us with in closing then?
Just a quick question, Ryan. Who should I follow up with, you or Heather?
You can keep us both on it. I'll be
Keep you
driving,
both
but I
on it.
promised Heather, because she owns the relationship due to the software upgrade itself, that I'd keep it transparent with her.
Okay, perfect. All right, so I'll reach out to you both probably tomorrow,
That's perfect.
and we'll define the next steps.
Yeah, I will say that, I mean, separate of that, I mean, we definitely know that we need to get the core,
Financials.
well, the quote, yeah, the quote for the things, the updated quote for those things that Heather definitely needs, like that's a guarantee. We need to see that to begin. So
Okay.
I would say send that as soon as possible, because we want to look at that as a 2H, and then I'm going to source feedback from our other committee members here about starting with what a stepped integration package throughout this year could look like.
Okay, all right, I'll get that done, and I'll talk with you both either tomorrow or Friday.
Awesome. Paula, thank you again. Ken,
Thank
Melissa, Ron, Jennifer, thank you very much for coming.
Thanks, everybody, for your time. Really
Thanks,
appreciate it.
everybody.
Thanks
Thanks,
for having us
Heather.
here. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Ryan.
You're
Bye.
welcome. So
Bye
committee,
now.
bye. So committee folks, any other business that you have tonight that you want to add in? All right. Since I only have Dominic and Theo, can I get somebody to motion to adjourn and somebody to second?
I was just going to say super quick, we will have an update on the paper list, hopefully some resolutions ready to discuss draft resolution by next session. This month was a busy travel month for both Art and I, and we were hoping to have it, but just didn't get done in time. So we'll hopefully have that. And then I think that's the first step into the discussion of whether or not to move forward with the e-signature. So that's just on the short to medium term for us. I just wanted to let everyone know.
Awesome.
I make that motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Dominic.
I guess I have to second.
You have to second. It's good. And we're all in favor. So thank you everybody for coming tonight and sitting through the presentation. I think it'll be helpful. And I know Heather's appreciative of it. So thanks. Good night.